A very good morning to all our viewers who've joined us live on this broadcast here at Moneycontrol. I'm Stacy Pereira, and let me give you a quick recap of where we left off trade. Well, we managed to snap that 3-day losing streak, but whether that is really something that we can continue to persist, at least the handover that we're getting seems a little jittery at this point. But can the Nifty inch towards that 24,500 levels? Well, it seems to be stuck in that range for now, between that 24,300 or 24,400 levels, touching somewhere around 24,386 2 days ago. But market participants are now looking towards these three important cues that they need to be tracking. The RBI MPC decision, which will just come out in hours from now. You also have today being the Nifty weekly expiry. So what are the kind of positions that one has taken that will also really shape or give direction to where the market is heading. And overseas, you're going to see the US initial jobless claims data that will come out, and that can perhaps go on to ease some of those concerns about the labor market weakness, and also the whole fear that we saw the sell-off in the start of the week on the fears of whether US is going to see some kind of recession, and that will perhaps get calmed down if we see a positive jobless claims number. Now, of course, a whole host of stocks as well that will be in focus, from Tata Motors in the auto space that has got a couple of earnings, a couple of brokerage that are positive on that stock, as well as reaction to NHPC, Novalis, as well as Cummins that have come out with their numbers. Brokerage is also giving those a thumbs up. We'll discuss all of that and more, and also answer your queries with our experts. But before that, let me take you through all the top headlines. Now, Wall Street indices ended lower in overnight session as the market's comeback attempt fizzled out. The Dow sheds more than 230 points, while the Nasdaq fell over 1%. Now, jobless claims data is where everyone's going to keep their eyes out, which will be out later tonight. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific region are on the back foot this morning as recovery on Wall Street was stalled. Investors are also assessing Japan's trade data. The GIFT Nifty too is implying a rather negative start for the Indian market. Crude prices have risen. Brent has bounced back from the 6-month low levels to trade above $78 a barrel. The EIA has reported that a larger than expected drop was seen in the US crude oil inventories. The Reserve Bank will come out with its monetary policy decision that will be announced in just hours from now. The policy committee is expected to maintain a status quo on the key policy rates. There's a 50% of the market participants that were polled by our sister network expects that the first rate cut will happen only in December. Well, of course, all eyes will be on that RBI policy, and we'll be getting you right from Governor Shaktikanta Das's speech to the analysis post the announcement. But there is a status quo that we are, already factoring in, we could say. But markets will be looking for those kind of cues or the commentary that comes off. For where we left off yesterday, we did snap that 3-day losing streak, ending on the day's high, where you saw the Sensex rise by about 875 points. So closing there at 79,468. The Nifty gained about 300 odd points to close in at 24,298. So just 2 points shy of that 300 mark, but that's where we've been hovering around. We saw a whole host of stocks that were, a buzz from the auto pack. We saw the likes of a Bajaj Auto as well as Maruti, which were among your top gainers. But we also saw the rupee fall to its record low levels, closing in at 83.96 versus the dollar. So that one is what we are also going to, perhaps hear the RBI governor give some kind of commentary on how they are seeing the weakness in the rupee and how the RBI plans to, take that on. investors will also be waiting and watching for all of these decisions. But we did see the market breadth yesterday turn quite drastically in favor of the advances, with the advance decline ratio at 6:1 by the end of trade. So we did see, of course, there was enough momentum that we got a good handover as well. But whether that was sustainable, we didn't see that happen in the previous two sessions. But yesterday we managed to hold that through. Now, if you look at the option data that we are seeing and the option queues, the put call ratio for the Nifty stands somewhere around 0.88 versus the 0.71 in the previous session, which means that there are still selling in calls that is higher than the selling in put, right? If it goes below that 0.7 level. So right now we are at 0.88, so we still have some bit of, we would say, that buffer. Now, in terms of the stocks that are in your F&O band for today, you have Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail, which has been added into the ban list, whereas continuing in that ban list is Aditya Birla Capital, there's Birla Soft, there's GNFC, Hindustan Copper, India Cements, India Mart, Intermesh, as well as LIC Housing Finance and Manappuram Finance. Both of these were added yesterday, as well as RBL Bank. The ones that have come out of this ban is Chambal Fertilizers as well as Granule India. So it's going to, those two are now can be traded even in the F&O segment. Now, in terms of the fund flows, we did see FIIs still remain net sellers, about 3,314.76 crore rupees worth of equity that was sold by FIIs, whereas DIIs went on to buy about 3,801 crore worth of equities on August 7th. Now, the VIX index, that is something that has been seeing the scales, we would say, that managed to decline by about 13.73% yesterday. So it's now down to about 16.17 levels versus the 18.74 levels. We are hoping that it goes below that 15 levels. That would give comfort to the bulls once again, we could say. But all of these cues are perhaps which will, give market participants that relief that they're seeking. Earnings today, now that's some big names there. You're going to see the likes of an Eicher Motors, which has been, seeing some big swings in the market. In fact, all of these days, it was among your biggest losers in trade. You also have LIC, ABB India, Biocon, as well as a couple of railway stocks like IRCON as well as RVNL that will be putting out their Q1 numbers. So we'll track all of those, but what are the kind of strategies you can use, and also whether these stocks, if they are in your portfolio, how you should be buying, selling or holding on to them. We'll get discussing that with Chandan Taparia of Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Good morning, Chandan. Always a pleasure to have you. We have barely some minutes to go for before market opens, but what are the levels that you're tracking today, being also the Nifty expiry day? What are the kind of levels one should see on the charts and should keep a target on?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So we have seen volatile swings in the last couple of days. The Nifty index corrected by around 1200 points all the way from 25,078 to 23,893 marks. But from last 3 days, we are consolidating in a range. However, the good part is that India VIX has peaked out near 23 zone and now near 16 marks. So decline in the VIX from the lower levels indicate that some sort of relief could be there. But the concern is the weak global cues are not allowing the Indian market to hold at higher levels. So we need to look at the key levels. As of now, I am closely watching 24,000 is a major support on the downside, while 24,400 is a hurdle. If Nifty index manages to surpass this boundary, then only the next leg of rally could be there in the market. If it manages to hold about 24,400, then only bulls will be back on the track, while hold below 24,000 could open the further room for the downside towards 23,750 to 23,500 zone. So whatever the position you are holding, closely watch the two levels that is in between 24,000 to 24,400 marks. Now talking about the Bank Nifty index, Bank Nifty has been forming the lower highs on the weekly scale from last 5 weeks, and here's resistances are shifting lower. It is trading below its 50-day exponential moving average. So till it holds below 50,350, we are expecting the banking index to drift down towards 49,500 level. So weakness could continue in the Bank Nifty, while Nifty is likely to be in a broader range of 24,000 to 24,400 before starting the next leg of rally.
Right. Chandan, you did mention, Bank Nifty having some bit of jitters there, and one could probably look at the Nifty more than the Bank Nifty or that index. But what about the broader spectrum of the markets, the mid cap and the small cap? We've been seeing some big swings even for them when the markets were down about, when there was that global sell-off that was happening. The mid cap, small cap both saw cuts of 3 and 4% close, but there was also that faster recovery. So do you think there is a steam there, or this should be a more stock specific or a cherry picking kind of environment within the broader market? So you think there is more value and momentum within that space?
Thanks, Stacy, and that's a fantastic, brilliant question. I believe, yes, we need to keep in mind to shift from selective mid-cap to heavyweights counter. I believe due to the market volatility, some volatile swings cannot be rolled out in the small cap and mid-cap. But even I believe that selective pocket in the mid-cap and small cap can do well. First, if I talk about the sector rotations, I believe that buying interest could emerge in pharma, FMCG, selective chemical fertilizers names, and few oil and gas companies can do well, while metal and BFSI could see some volatile swings. So I believe that one can look at the consumption name, whether we talk about the Kolpal, Hindustan Unilever, whether we look at the Bikazi, we need to look at the oil marketing companies or like ONGC, Oil India. Apart from that, one need to look at bargain buying and selective gas distribution name, including MGL, IGL. So here the approach is going to be very selective for the selective counters. We believe that volatile swings cannot be ruled out as VIX is near 16. So this is a good time to look at selective stocks or look at shift towards heavyweights from the mid cap and small cap.
Right. So you are seeing a shift from the broader spectrum going towards, the more reliable names within the large cap space that you would say, or the heavyweights that will actually hold out at this point. But there we are at market open. We are seeing a little bit of pressure. The GIFT Nifty did signal a gap down, but we're not seeing a gap down as such, 0.2%. We are still around that 24,200 or 250 odd levels that we are opening on. So just about 50 points that we are seeing sway in for the Nifty, but in with a negative bias, we would say at this point. The Sensex also seeing about almost close to 200 points down there, so 0.2% even down for the Sensex. But the Bank Nifty is the one that seems to be holding out at this point. We are seeing a little bit of green on our screens, at least when it comes to the banking index. So that is interesting to see. Even the broader markets at this point, that one seems to be in the positive, at least for now. We are seeing some good momentum, at least holding out for the broader spectrum of the markets at this point. So there we are, a bit of pressure that we are opening with the Nifty there around those 24,250 levels. We could say the Sensex also managing just to stay rather flat, we would say at this point. But let's look at the gainers and losers then, who's really contributing towards how the market is doing. We were just talking about maybe it's time to do that rotation towards the heavyweights, and if that is a call that you want to take, or that is something that would suit your portfolio, then which are the stocks that you should be looking out for within this space to see your gainers? There you have it on your screen. Tata Motors, a couple of good brokerage calls that have come out for this particular counter. Yesterday, they also went on to launch a new variant of their Curve series. So you are seeing new launches by the EV player, as well as an ICE variant as well, which has kept the markets quite happy. So the thumbs up coming in there for Tata Motors. Hindalco also, after a whole host of news flow that has come. Previously, there was an FIR that was filed after an 8-year-long inquiry, but markets seem to have shrugged that off. You also have Novelis that has come out with numbers that is perhaps going to aid Hindalco's performance going ahead, so which is why you're seeing that counter in the green. You also have Cipla there on your screens, which is in the positive. Let's look at the other stocks that are really providing. So this seems like a good range, we would say. of the kind of stocks that are, adding to the Nifty's gains. You have Adani Enterprise as well. Yesterday also the Adani group of stocks were up and about in trade. You saw a lot of about 3 to 4% of gains coming in there for Adani Enterprise as well as Adani Ports. You have Eicher Motors also now in the positive ahead of its earnings. Today it will be putting out its numbers. So after seeing a whole lot of profit taking, that one now in the positive. Also another auto pack from the auto pack is Bajaj Auto. So you have the likes of Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto as well as Eicher Motors that are among your gainers. In fact, let me go to Chandan and get his view on the auto stocks and what we are getting to see. They are the ones that, have been up and about. You also have ITC, HDFC Bank and Titan there on your screens flashing among your gainers in trade. But Chandan, the auto pack, that seems quite interesting. At the start of the week when we saw all of that selling pressure, those were the ones that also skid the most. And now you have the likes of Tata Motors, even Bajaj Auto, all of them among your gainers in trade today. But how do the charts look? Let's talk about Tata Motors specifically, because there are a couple of brokerage notes that I will take you through too. But what are you reading for Tata Motors? Are there good levels or entry points at around that 1,000 levels?
So yes, first looking at the Nifty Auto, we have seen a corrective move in last 4 or 5 days, but now has been consolidating. But the concern is the bounce is not being respected. Yesterday it managed to hold 25,000, but sustained supply was clearly visible and now is drifting lower. I'm talking about the Nifty Auto Index. Now, if you look at the selective auto name, I believe Tata Motors is also behaving like the Nifty Auto, where supports are there, but follow-up is not visible. As of now, 1,060 is the multiple barrier for the Tata Motors, and hold below 1,015 can open the downside towards 980 levels. So 1,000 is the multiple support, but the problem is a follow-up buying interest. So if it moves about 1,060, then only the stability will be back. But if you look at the other name in the auto space, I can focus on the Bajaj Auto, which is forming the positive price pattern, recently taken support at 93.70 zone. So because of the surge in the support with immediate higher range of 94.50, it can attempt towards 10,100 kind of level. So I'll be very selective. We'll look for some decline to accumulate the counter like Tata Motors and Bajaj Auto.
Right. In fact, let me take you through what Nomura is saying on Tata Motors. They do have a buy call with a target of 1,303 rupees per share. The company has launched, of course, that Curve EV series of theirs, and they believe that this breaks all the key barriers for that EV adoption, because now they're putting out more. It also brings price parity between the EV as well as ICE variants. Jefferies too has a buy call with a target of 1,330 rupees per share. They say that the course new mid-sized SUV coupe Curve it does have the frills and also keeps that gap in its portfolio. It narrows it. It appears to be well styled as well as rich features in this EV, and it comes at an attractive price as well. The good part is that it does have an ICE variant which will get launched on September 2nd. So that all is what has propped up Tata Motors, and like Chandan was pointing out, he also sees other names like Bajaj Auto and the likes that seem quite interesting. But let me also ask Chandan about Eicher Motors, because that's one, in fact, even a query that is coming in, and one that, ahead of its results is trading in the positive. But we did see a lot of pressure that this particular stock saw in the past couple of sessions. So what are the charts really saying for Eicher Motors?
So after a long time, this stock is finding some selling pressure. Earlier, it was moving in a positive Rangebound category, but now it formed the multiple tops and holding well below its 50-day exponential moving average. So hurdle is clearly visible till it remains below 4,700. It can open the downside towards 4,350 to 4,300 zone.
Right. Another interesting brokerage call, or rather divergent calls that we are seeing from brokerages, is on Cummins. This one also came out with its numbers, which were quite a mixed bag, we would say. But HSBC has a buy call with a target. They've raised the target to 4,200 rupees per share. They say, yes, there was a soft softness in the revenues, but they do see more growth, which can be offset by that sharp improvement in that EBITDA margin number that has come in. They've also raised the medium-term growth as well as their earnings forecast. But on the other hand, you have Jefferies, who says they have an underperformed call on Cummins with a target of 2,190 rupees per share. The Q1 EBITDA was 7%, which is below their estimates, which they were looking at also a number of about 19% for the revenue, which has come as a miss. So for the FY24-27 estimates for the earnings per share CAGR, they've kept it around 18%, and they factor in that there could be further margin weakness going ahead. So which is why you're seeing these two different kind of calls coming in there for Cummins. But let me now get on and answer a couple of queries from that are coming in on our live feed, and Chandan is waiting by to do just that. So first up, let's take on a couple of interesting steel names and how the whole metal pack has been doing. There's a query coming in from Anju. She wants to know your view on Tata Steel.
So, looking at the Tata Steel, we are slightly bearish on selective metal name due to the weakness in the global market. The stock has been making lower top, lower bottom, and recently corrected from 185 to all the way to 150 zone. On the event day on the 4th of June, it made the low near 148. So there is the next support. So if that is respected, then it's well and good. Otherwise, it may open the downside towards 140 to 138 level. So if someone is holding the position, my suggestion is to keep the strict support near 148. If it goes above 156, then only the stability will be back in this counter.
Interesting. So keep those levels that Chandan pointed out. Another interesting one, and Debu K wants to get your view on ABB before the results, because that is another counter, and from this whole industrial pack, that one has been quite a buzz. So how does ABB look?
So if I look at the ABB, the stock has seen some recovery in last 2-3 days, but again taking hurdle at its key moving averages. Just 7-8 days back, it was finding hurdle near 8,050, and now the resistance are shifting slightly lower to 7,900 zone. So if it goes above 7,900, then only the stability will be back. However, we have seen some positive price pattern similar to double bottom, but the breakout will happen only above hold of 7,900 zone. So here we are getting a conditional trade to buy above 7,900 for an upside target towards 8,500 zone.
Right. Well, let's also talk about the consumption space and what we've been seeing happen. A lot of money has been seen, or that was sitting away, saw some kind of buyers within the defensive play. That when we saw this whole sell-off, it was among these consumer names like the HUL, Britannia and the likes that saw a lot of buying. There's a query that is coming in from Rohit Verma. He says that he has about 190 shares of Varun Beverages, which he got with an average price of 978. He's asking whether he should raise his stake in it, and whether it should be in an increasing average. So what would you suggest for Rohit, where he already has about 190 shares of Varun Beverages?
So VBL is overall a good company if someone is talking about long term, but in last 2 weeks it has seen a corrective move from 1,700 to 1,450 zone. So I don't suggest to average now. Let it correct further to find support near 1,400 zone. I believe 1,400 could provide a major bargain buy level for a bounce to a 1,600 zone. So one can wait for more decline. Don't average now. Let it correct further. Then think about the averaging of the stock.
Right. So don't, average right now. You're saying wait, and then you'll have a better opportunity. I hope that answers that query. Another one, a view on Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Krishna has a holding of about 2,000 shares that he got at 48 rupees. He's suggesting what should he do? Buy, sell, hold, accumulate more. What would you suggest for Ujjivan Small Finance Bank?
So like looking at the Ujjivan small finance, the structure is weak. It failed to surpass a key hurdle of 46 zone, and that level has worked as a key breakout, key hurdle zone from last 30 days. Multiple time it retested and failed to surpass 46. So as of now, till it doesn't go beyond 46, it would be tough. However, multiple support may be seen near 40. So 40 to 46 is the range to trade, but no major conviction some decline could be bought, but upside is likely to be kept as of now.
Right, interesting. Let me also get our viewers up to speed with a couple of earnings that have come out. We saw Lemon Tree Hotels come out with their Q1 numbers. Net profits are down by 27.3% at 20 crore versus the 28 crore rupees on a year-on-year basis. Revenues, though, are up by about 19.5% at 268 crore rupees. EBITDA, too, is up by 8% or 115 crore rupees versus the 106 crore rupees. And margins, that one has seen a good dip, we would say, just at 42.9% versus the 47.5%. So that one is coming in there for Lemon Tree Hotels. You also had NHPC from the whole power space that put out its numbers. Net profits there have risen just slightly by 1.2%, coming in at 1,108 crore rupees. Revenues there have declined to 2.3% at 2,694 crore rupees. EBITDA too is down by 2.8% at 1,462 crore rupees, and margins here have been rather flat. We would say 54.3% versus the 54.6% there coming in for NHPC. Let me get Chandan's view quickly on the whole power space and how one should be looking at that whole segment per se, and also whether he has any particular picks that he would want to list out for us within this power and energy space.
So if you look at the power and energy name, we have noticed some range-bound bias and some profit booking decline from higher levels due to the weakness in the global market. But still, I can focus on NTPC with the view that the stock has been holding well. Multiple supports are seen near 400 zone. So buy on decline can be seen. Or buy on decline can be the view with support to 400 for an upside target towards 430 levels. Now, if you talk about selective picks, which I can focus here. Again, as I mentioned, that I'll be very conservative now looking at the market scenario. However, we believe that major trend of the market is positive, but declines could be both. So I'll go with selective mid-cap name. I can focus on the counter like Bikazi. I'm quite positive on the name from last 4-5 days. Okay. Recommended and looking for a fresh breakout with support of 775. One can look for an upside target was 845 levels. Positive on the selective fertilizers name. We can talk about the Deepak Fertilizers, or we can talk about the Release India. Here I can talk about the Release India, one of the strongest name with support of 360. One can look for an upside target towards 390. So I have spoken about counter like Bikazi, Release India. And now if you are looking for FNO segment, then I can focus on the stock like Trend. The stock has bottomed out with support at 50-day exponential moving average. Major trend of the counter is positive. Buy on decline is clearly visible. So with support of 54.50, we can target towards 57.50 kind of level. So these three will be the recommendations from the consumptions and selective fertilizers name.
Quite interesting that you have even consumption and fertilizers. Both of these have been quite a buzz in, of late, at least in trade, and some interesting picks that you have there. Quickly, I'll try and squeeze in two more queries. Then, Chandan, Varsha Gajjar wants to know your view on Zomato, and that counter is also one of that has held a lot of interest, has seen some good up moves of late. Is there a reason and more value there, or do you think that it has already had a good run up, so one should be very cautious of Zomato?
So Stacy, the weather is quite pleasant, and we are talking about VBL on the client or viewer queries. I recommended about Bikazi, and now we are talking about the Zomato. So I believe the entire segment will be in focus. This time we have seen major re-rating in the result, and the technical setup is clearly positive. However, we have seen some consolidating move in last 3 days, but I believe that positive momentum could continue. With support of 253, one can look for an upside target towards 275 in this counter.
Right. Well, we are completely out of time though, and I won't want to take more queries, but I want to tell our viewers that keep sending us those queries whenever we go live, and we'll have experts like Chandan and others who join us on the show to try and answer them. But for now, we're completely out of time, and do remember that we do have the RBI MPC policy announcement that will happen in just half an hour from now, and we'll be getting you the governor's speech live right here at Moneycontrol. So don't go anywhere. But let me take this opportunity to thank Chandan for giving us his time and speaking with us, helping our viewers with their queries, and also giving us some direction as to how one should be trading in this kind of market environment. And to all our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back at 10 o'clock with the governor's speech. And for all your other business updates, stay right here, because Moneycontrol is the place where you'll get all of your businesses as well as financial related updates. Stay tuned. At 10 o'clock is when we will be streaming the governor's speech. Well, with that, it's a goodbye and wrap from me.